you, the viewer, is like, Liz is a wrestling fan, right? Like, I want a cage match. I want, like, the homies in there are, like, not having fun. Like, it's you, the viewer, who is like, I want to see blood. Let's go.
So if you guys don't know, basically the way the VCT has worked until now is like open qualifiers, closed qualifiers, group stage, and then moving forward into, you know, masters and challengers. That is now out the window. You can't get you don't have your girl kissers, don't have your scroll warriors. What has happened is that Riot, through a I would consider pretty rigorous application process, has selected organizations to represent 3 parts of the world. Exit didn't make it, Optic didn't make it. I don't believe any Oceania teams made it. I don't think any Middle Eastern or African teams made it. You also might be noticing kind of like a shift. You're like, wait, didn't Genji compete in NA just now? Wait, didn't T1 just compete in NA just now? They did, but now they'll be competing in the Pacific. Where organizations have made it, you know these rosters, but you don't know these rosters. There's a train going by. I'm sorry if you can hear that.
We can't.
But the important thing about this is the organizations made the partner program, right?
Yes.
Not the players.
Yeah, this is an important point because people, right, like Riot's not partnering with players. They're not partnering with pro players. They're partnering with organizations. Organizations can sign whoever they want, right? And players can play for whomever they want, right? So I think a lot of people saw the Optic thing and they saw who's the other one? TSM, right?
TSM, Exet
sort of Exet, I think, and Optic are probably the standouts. People just sort of wondering why it is that their favorite players didn't make it, especially Optic, like just played a world championship grand final, right? And the simple answer is that Riot is looking to partner with orgs. They're not looking to partner with players. Like, I mean, we're going to get to this in a minute, right? But, you know, the best Valorant player in the world can wear a different jersey, right? Mm-hmm. And get signed to a different team. So, yeah, that's sort of the long and the short of it. But I don't think that it's not without question. You know, I think it's still a little bit interesting that Optic didn't make it in. You know, there's a history there with Riot and Optic in League and franchising, and I'm sure that was probably a concern. But yeah, it is a weird look, obviously, to have a world championship contending team not make it in like 2 weeks after they play that final. It's safe to say, I think, that we are probably never gonna see another roster mania of this caliber,
right?
Because of the like unprecedented and sort of singular occurrence of the switch to franchising, right? You know, it happens once and it'll never happen again. Yeah, I don't know. I'm surprised TSM didn't make it in. I guess we should talk about that one first. I am surprised. Speaking of orgs, there's obviously a lot around TSM that I think Riot could look at and sort of wince and go like, you know, like, I don't know if we want anything to do with that, but they are like the legacy North American League of Legends org, like top of the list, number one. The New York Yankees of North American League of Legends have been for 10 years. I'm curious about TSM as an org. Like, do TSM continue to field a Valorant roster and try to make it into the VCT through Ascension, or do they basically throw their hands up and say like, let's just go all in on the open circuit CS:GO? It's weird that there are, you know, orgs and teams who sort of went in day one. I feel like you and I have talked about this before, Liz, but like who went in day one and sort of weren't rewarded for their loyalty. You know what I mean? In spite of the fact they built up huge followings around Valorant in some cases, and, you know, really tried to get in day one. And then on the other hand, they did get rewarded. Like, the best example of this is Sentinels. Like, I know to a lot of you, especially if you're like Valorant fans, you know what I mean? Like, to you, it's like a no-brainer that Sentinels would make it in. And it is a no-brainer. It's an absolute no-brainer. But Sentinels were not Sentinels before Valorant. Like, they were, I'm not gonna say they were nobody, but like, they were not the org even remotely close to the org that they are now before Valorant, right? Valorant made Sentinels. It makes sense to reward them for that, of course, but I just feel like there were other orgs who also sort of tried the same thing and were like still quite successful, right? And it feels like they, you know what I mean? Like Riot just kind of were like, sorry, my man. Sorry, my dude. Like, you know, you did like Xset, right? Like, sorry guys. Like, just, you know, you didn't quite cut it.
I think the other thing that I saw kind of being less rewarded or so is, you know, the teams that had GC teams. You know, version 1 had a GC, Game Changers. Version 1 had a GC team. TSM had a GC team. Xset had a GC team. They still have them. And I think that that's a great indicator of wanting to be in the scene, but not only wanting to be in the scene, but just being a champion of gender minorities in esports. And that just shows me you are ready to contribute to the long-term health of this esport. And I thought that might have been a more heavy consideration. I was wrong.
What happened in Valorant is what happens every time, right? The new game comes out. Everybody says, Valve's so stupid. CSGO's so stupid. Valorant is gonna save us. It's the promised land. I'm gonna be there day one. I'm gonna be the first pro player signed. I'm gonna be the first. I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make it in this game. It's my new opportunity. And then there's like 2 years of open circuit where everybody gets to play everything, and then Riot whittles that down to a franchise model. Only the cool kids get in, and then everybody else is left out of the cold, being like, wait, are you telling me that it's CS all over again? Wait, right. Are you telling me that I'm just as much out in the cold as I was 2.5 years ago? Wait, I don't understand, right? Which is fine, like in the sense of like that's always what was gonna happen. It's just that it felt like, as it always does, it feels like the copium is so intense in the beginning that people sort of forget that it's going to happen.
I'm going to read Capo. I'm sorry if I missed Capo's comment. Franchising adds stability to the scene, though, both economically and entertainment-wise. I feel like it helps new players get into watching games as well, easier to keep up and follow pro games. Well, that's the argument for it, right?
It's just never happened. Unfortunately, it's just never happened. No one has ever watched a franchise league and been more entertained by it than a non-franchise league. It just has never, like, there's a reason that the LCS is dying, right? Now, I'm not going to speak for the LPL, and I'm not going to speak for, like, the LCK, because I do think that it's, a slightly different kettle of fish. Like, I think regions do play a role in this, and the massiveness in esports of certain regions. But considering that Valorant is a predominantly North American esport, at least right now, I think that it's fair to compare them. It's like, do you really want to watch the same two North American league teams compete against each other forever and then just go to Worlds and get knocked out in groups? Like, and it's been happening for 10 years, and like, this is just what franchising does. Whereas in non-franchise esports, you watch teams play each other on an international stage every week, basically, right? And the competition is way stiffer, and there's different teams in every tournament, and there's so much easier to just, you know, have 5 players get a team together and go make it in through an open qualifier, and then make it through a regional, and then boom, they're playing, you know what I mean, in like the semifinals of a, you know, blast event, right? It's important to remember who franchising is for. It is not for you, the viewer. It's not like, you, the viewer, is TI. You, the viewer, is like, bro, I want to watch 2 teams play a BO3 or a BO5 for $40 million, and that's like savage. Like, that's so mean. Like, you, the viewer, is like, Liz is a wrestling fan, right? Like, I want a cage match. I want, like, the homies in there are like not having fun. Like, it's you, the viewer, who is like, I want to see blood. Let's go. Like, that's what is entertaining about it. Like, the open circuit is entertaining because it's like, you know, these teams have something to lose. These players have something to lose. They're not guaranteed stability. They're not guaranteed security. What franchising does is it gives stability to the players, it gives stability to the orgs, and it gives stability to the developer, right? Now, those are good things. Like, those are good things on paper for the health of esports. But, like, they're not more, it's not more entertaining. It's always going to be more entertaining to watch open circuit.